Yes, I'm online. There was some schedule confusion with some kiddos that I'm taking care of, so my apologies, you guys.
Don't worry, Diane.
We got you.
Thank you so
Thanks for being
much.
here.
Yeah, no problem.
No, it is
Okay, are
sad
we
that we
ready?
can't see you.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 5:35. This is a special board meeting. First thing on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do I hear any objection? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Diane, you're opposed?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm not opposed.
It just came a little slower.
Yeah, it came out a little
Oh.
slow.
Sorry.
We got you right.
Okay, so it is approved. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move to, approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion about the consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The motion passes. Okay.
Diane, did you vote aye on that?
Diane?
I voted
Diane?
aye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We are now on to page 2 of this agenda. Okay, data presentations. Are you going to give an intro, Mr. Superintendent, or are we going straight to Principal Ashton?
We'll start the slideshow if we can. I don't think quicker, please.
Eli, don't look so excited.
They're like 27 pages each, right?
They're not that, but there's a lot of slides.
Oh,
Can't let us.
yeah. Oh,
You did touch on data presentation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There.
yeah, that's it. You just scroll down.
Something happened. There we go. Okay. So, welcome everybody. Tonight we are going to have presentations of data from our board principals, our building principals. And, but before they start tonight, I just want to remind folks of a couple of the measures that we have. First of all, we have the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, or DIBELS components. You're going to hear the words BOY, and you might hear the words EOI, but BOY is beginning of the year assessment, and our end of the year assessment is the EOI. We talked about the components of each of those measures, and they're there for you. I don't want to go in each one because we'll be here for quite a while if I do that, but you can see where each grade level measure is for the K6 level. Moving on to the next slide, our SAVIS math diagnostic components. Again, you're going to hear about beginning of the year scores, and might hear about some end of the year. You've got those that end of the year data from last year that was presented at the last meeting. And then you could see the different measures at the different grade levels and what is being assessed. And so you have that as a tool to look at if you're wondering about what they're measuring in each of those components. Moving on, I only printed one of the OSAS performance distribution levels just for math, but the ELA one is the same. So you can see a level 1 student, a red student has not yet met the grade level achievement standards in math or ELA and needs continued support. Orange is level 2, nearly meets. Green means the student has met grade level achievement, and then blue, level 4, the student has exceeded. And so again, they're the same thing for ELA as they are for math, but I've included math and standards, the color coding and some of the terminology. And then regular attenders, just want to remind you that that is a student that attends 90% or more of the days that they're enrolled in an academic year. And that snapshot includes students that have been enrolled for 75 or more total days as of May. So a student that enrolls after May, it doesn't count against our regular attender data. Now, students that enroll multiple times throughout the year do count against our regular attender data. So I just wanted to let you know that as we're going through the slides, know that data. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ashton from the high school, who will talk about Lunchbook. Thank you, Mr. Ashton.
Good evening. All right.
Oh, one more thing before Mr. Ashton, as he's getting going. Each admin, we talked, they have 10 minutes to present and then 5 minutes for questions. The 10 minutes maximum for them to present. It shouldn't take some of them more than
Like
5 or 6, especially
You're gonna give me keys to hurry up.
So,
There will be a timer up there.
I'll probably go fast. So. All right. Again, thanks for having me here tonight. So I am really excited. As more and more I go through a lot of our data, you're going to see a lot of positives. We obviously still have a lot of room for growth in a lot of things, but there have been a lot of good things that have happened over the course of the last year. The first being our regular attenders. So, you look at our last year's data, we were at 52% regular attenders, which was a common theme since basically COVID. Prior to that, we were at 56%, and the year before that, we were at 46%. Currently, we're sitting at 67%, almost 68 after today. So we're even continuing to see growth with our regular attenders across the board, all grade levels. Our sophomores are our highest group. They're about 71% right now. So really, really good data. Our goal was 70%, and that was coming off of 52. And I feel like maybe we could probably increase that a little bit. And so we talked about maybe going to 75%. Let's see if we can get it up. Prior to COVID, we were usually in the high 70s to low 80s. So it's a nice trend to see where we're going. So a lot of credit to Greg Mulkey and his staff in the attendance office, communicating with families, connecting, also celebrating. We spend a lot of time with our class. We do monthly class meetings, and so we celebrate perfect attendance for each month. Greg does daily and weekly attendance reminders, things like that. So a lot of good stuff with attendance.
Taking my time, I might be style.
Oh, yeah. So our passing. So last year was the first year we really started to look at overall passing rates with the goal of 90% of our students passing at each grade level. Typically, with proficiency-based grading, you see students start at a lower rate with the opportunities to do test retakes, get reteaching, maybe get some tutoring, and then the opportunities to go back and retest and increase those rates. So last year when we started doing this, we were seeing a lot of our students within each grade level above 20% failure rate. So it was an 80% passing rate was pretty common. Right now, all of our grade levels are well above, kind of that where we were last year. We're not quite where we are, except for our seniors. Our seniors are right now at 92% passing rate, which is outstanding. Overall, as a group, this is a great senior group. Very few kids are credit recovery. Very few are kind of in that threshold of, are they going to be able to graduate? Or do we have too many credits that we have to overcome? And so we spent a lot of time working with them, but it shows in the work that they're doing right now with their current passing rates. And again, we'll keep working on that. The sophomores, that group's struggling a little bit, and you're going to see why here in a sec. So there is a common theme with kind of where this group is at and why they're struggling. Core. So again, we looked a lot at our core rate last year, and again, we had numbers, passing rates that were like at 70% in some of our core departments, and especially at this time of the semester. By the end of the semester, we saw those rates go down to anywhere from about 10 to 15%. I got to give a big shout out to our math department. That's been a struggle for a lot of our students over the years. And right now for our core department, they have the highest passing rate of all departments. And I think that goes to a lot of the credit of the alignment that they've worked on with finding a path that works for our students. We spent a lot of time meeting with SWAC over the last year as well to find what's going to help students do best in order to pass those foundational math. We've even talked about potentially offering a 100 level for our students that are maybe not on the advanced track, like taking trig, calculus, statistics, a math 108 or a math 105 for our seniors that maybe just want to get a little bit of exposure to a college level course and then spreading that over the course of a year. So again, that's their hard work. The challenge is AP Seminar. We're struggling right now. And a lot of that I think has to do with just figuring out how to go about instructing all students. Learning an AP course, it's very rigid. College Board tells us you have to teach it a certain way. AP Seminar is vastly different than all the other AP courses. Part of it is because they have performance tasks that students are required to do over the course of the year, and those performance task scores go into their final score, versus like AP Chemistry, AP Psych, where they just take a test at the end and that's their final score. So getting kids ready for that performance, and the performance task is group-based, so they have to work as a team. And so if one individual or two individuals in that group don't pull their weight, it actually pulls the overall score of the group down. And so getting those kids to work as one has been a challenge. And they've done probably about 2 or 3 performance tasks. The first performance task will be here in November. So we'll kind of get a sense of, what we can do to help kind of support some of those other kids. We also met with a lot of schools that have already implemented AP Seminar this fall, and the way they rolled it out, and it was a little bit different than we did. And so we've kind of taken a little bit of that advice on how we can improve on for next year. Also, a lot of schools, when they implemented AP Seminar, they also did pre-AP at the same time for the freshmen. And so that helps. So that's something that we're going to be looking at adding for next year to kind of complement AP Seminar.
Eli,
Mm-hmm.
in the AP course, I'm sorry, I completely lost my track. Go ahead.
Okay.
If I think of it, I'll write it down.
So with the pre-ACT, so there's kind of 2 metrics that we looked at with the pre-ACT. It's their overall score that they're given. So for 8-9, it's a little different. I actually just realized this the other day, is that they're actually scored differently. So the traditional ACT, the highest score you can get is a 36, but with the pre-ACT 8-9, it's actually 30. And then the pre-ACT 10, or just pre-ACT, is a 35. And so even though the data says that our freshmen were lower, I'm not sure quite yet, after talking to our ACT lady, how that kind of translates. Because you'll notice a trend here that all of our students, the sophomores, did better than the freshmen, and every single one of them. But is that due to because of the fact that the highest score you can get is actually less? Or is it just performance based? So again, we're learning a lot with the pre-ACT because this, again, is the second year. One of the things too that we did was we spent a lot of time prepping for the pre-ACT this year versus last year. Last year, we kind of just went into it, right? Dove into it head first. And we made a lot of mistakes, especially with not prepping the students as far as filling out the non-testing bubble materials. And so that took a lot of time. Some classes went through it really well, others really struggled. And so there were some discrepancies depending on how comfortable your advisory teacher was with getting everything set up. With the math, one of the things that we saw too, so the other metric is they talked about on target, close to target, and needing intervention. So math, only 14% of our students were on target, but only 29% of our students need an intervention. So that means there's 57% of our students that were close to that target. So again, not a lot of need for necessarily supporting our kids, but they're so close that just maybe a little bit of bump will help them get there. Science. This was one of the concerns. We scored pretty low in science overall in comparison to the national average. This is actually one of our lower ones. But a lot of that too, we felt like was because that's the last test. And because maybe how we had set it up, they felt rushed at the end. And so there was a kind of a time period where this year wasn't the case. We did a really good job of making sure that everybody was prepped ahead of time, that most classrooms actually had an extra hour at the end of the test before we actually had lunch. So nobody ever felt really rushed to get it done. So I'm kind of excited to see maybe what the science scores will show us this year. Our reading score was really good. So actually all of our scores, composite scores, we actually scored higher than the national average in every area. But within reading, our reading score was 2.6 points higher than the national average, which I think is a common trend when you look at all of our even within our ELA scores and things like that. Reading and English is a strong point for us. Even in English, we showed a lot of growth. And again, overall, just through all the scores, we were 1 point higher than the national average. ACT, which isn't on here, just kind of want to throw that in. We had 54 students take the ACT last year. Our average was 20.1, the national average was 19.4. So again, of those students, we scored higher. This year, we had 86 students take the ACT, but we also had 38 students take the ACT work keys. And the work keys is designed for students that want to go into the trades, apprenticeship programs. It's actually, if you go into the local apprenticeship program now here, that's actually one of the assessments they use for entry into that program, or if you're prepared for it. And the other part too that we didn't get to test was the ASVAB. We had 32 students sign up for the ASVAB, but because of the government shutdown, we couldn't offer it. So as soon as we're back up and running, we'll get to bring that back. OSAS. So last year in ELA, we scored 39%. State average was 47. The year previous, though, we scored 56%. And I think a big difference to that is, so 2 years ago, we had about 56% participation in OSAS. Last year, or 2 years ago, we had 98%. And this last year, we dropped down to 78%. So I think participation in the assessments is really, really important. And we show that when 98% of our students do take it, do pretty well. When there's a group of students that don't, typically the ones that we want to take it a lot of times, we don't do as well. And so hopefully next week, I'm meeting with a group of our staff to talk about how we can kind of create some intrinsic motivation and maybe some extrinsic motivation to help kind of get them to wanting to take both, when we took the pre-ACT and also the OSAS in the spring, and then also our AP tests when we get into May. Math, again, a struggle for us, a challenge. Again, we kind of continue to work on this. Ours was 14%. The state isn't, blowing anybody out of the water with 21%. And so again, our goal is to get to that state around 20%.
Got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Science. So this is kind of a highlight. So 34% proficient, when the state average is 32. So, I think our science department does an excellent job of making sure they hit all the standards. This is one of the more challenging assessments to prepare for the 11th grade, because most state assessments will actually, with a blueprint, give you exactly what standards and what percentage of standards will be on the test. For the 11th grade science one, 1/3 physical science, 1/3 biology, 1/3 environmental or space. That's all they took. You have no idea what's going to go on there. It's just a third. That's it. So they do a really good job of making sure our students get a well-rounded background in science. So CTE. So our goal this year was to get 50% of our students as concentrators, which is a 2 years. So you take 2 years of a CTE program. Typically, it's your beginning and then intermediate. Then you get to your advanced. I'm not sure exactly how to track that because the state they don't care. That's not really what they look at. How we get our money, our funding for CTE programs is by completers, 3 years, or certificates. And we're really excited because the state actually added a ton more certificates for a lot of our CTE programs, which gives us more opportunities for kids to get those and then give us more points that go towards our pathways. So you notice there's only 4. We actually do have 5, but culinary is only in its 3rd year. So we don't have any completers yet. At the end of this year, we'll see some completers, also the potential for some certificates. But you can see manufacturing had 27 completers with 15 certificates. Construction had 16 completers with 13. Technology had 10, and broadcast journalism had. And so those numbers will continue to grow. With broadcast journalism, we've had a little bit of instability with our staff with teaching. Andrew, he's going on his 4th year now, so he's starting to build his program back. We're excited because he's actually been able to add 2 more certificates, so he'll have some kids that will actually be able to be recognized because they were getting those certificates before, but they weren't stated dollar certificates, so we weren't getting points for these. Co-curriculars. So Mr. Roberts sent out the survey for secondary about co-curricular activities. We had a total of 490 students. We actually had more than that, but I found a lot of doubles where kids actually did it more than once. But we had 490 students answer, 387, which is 79% of our students were shared that they are a part of something that's related to Marshall High School, whether it's a club, a sport, anything. We still had several additional students, so that little teal bar, those are students that participate in activities outside of school, so 4-H, youth groups, It could Boys and Girls Club. I mean, things like that. So, and then, oh, sorry, that's the pink one. And then the teal one is the ones that are non. So our goal is once we get through and sit through all the kids who haven't taken the survey, we're going to go back and grab them, have them complete the survey. And then all the students that are in those teal, we're going to go back and try to pull them in and meet with them individually about opportunities that maybe they're missing out on and they're not aware of. One of the things that we notice is a lot of our new clubs are the most popular clubs. So archery, we have over 40 students now that are participating in archery. Our graphic novel club, we have 10 students that are participating in that, and that's in conjunction with the library, Coos Bay Library. Boys volleyball, new OSA activity. We're starting to see a lot of boys that are interested in that. Our mythology group. So we actually have a mythology club that they go in. Mrs. Hendricks is teaching that one. And then we have an Asian Pacific Islander club, and there's already 20 students that are involved in that. So a lot of opportunities, and I think the more and more when we start asking kids what they're interested in and we start doing those, that's when we see the enrollment increase rather than just staying stagnant with the status quo of like these are the normal clubs that kids want to participate in. Some other data, and I just want to share some of these because I know they're always on people's minds, is the AP enrollment. So overall last year we had 5 classes, and I'm not including AP seminar because these are the AP classes I'm talking about are the ones that actually kids have to pick and do. So last year we had 5 AP courses and 154 students. This year we have 9 and we have 295 students. So there's a lot more, almost doubled the number of students that are taking AP courses. And it still didn't impact our dual credit courses. Sometimes there's a fear of that if you start adding AP courses, then you have to share with the dual credit. Our college writing, college lit, our calculus, trig numbers, they're all pretty much staying the same. Anatomy, physiology, all dual credit courses, those numbers have pretty much stayed status quo over the years. So it didn't impact pulling kids. More kids were interested in taking the advanced courses. SAT testing. Next week we have 38 seniors and 19 juniors taking the PSAT. So another opportunity. They just took the ACT last week and they still want to take another test. So there's excitement about taking tests, the opportunity, and again, a lot of that is the fear they don't have to pay for it, so they're more willing to take that risk and do that. And then the final thing is the 4-year plan. So I wanted to share this with you guys because it is part of our mission, having a plan, whether it's enrolled, employed, or enlisted. And so I shared that with you guys. Those are the forms the students have filled out for the last couple weeks. We're at 74% complete right now. Our freshmen don't do it. We don't do the 4-year plans with the freshmen because they haven't really done it. We'll start that in this in February when we start doing forecasting. We've actually completed a semester of work so that they can add to that and then adjust. They do these in pencil because we hold on to them. So the advisory teachers, they do it in their advisory class. They pull those out and then they revisit them, adjust because over the course of the 4 years, their plans change. But it gives the counselors have access to these. Like I said, the advisory teachers have them, WE's administration do. And so it gives us a kind of an idea of what kids want to do post high school. If there's courses or things that maybe we need to add, adjust, things like that. So, and our goal is to get to 100%. So again, similar to our co-curricular where we're going to pull kids in and actually meet with them one-on-one, we'll be doing the same thing with our 4-year plans. All right. Questions?
Let's make a statement. I think do the kids know that if you want to get a scholarship through SAT, you have to take the preset to get it? I only mention that because I had a sister-in-law who called up and said this kid that took the SAT and she got the highest score you can get, but they're not offering any scholarships. And I said, did she take the preset? And they said, no. And I said, well, you can't qualify for the SAT scholarship program unless they take the preset. So I just like to make sure that counselors know you need to encourage kids to take the preset if you're going to take the SAT later on. She lost $15,000. That's it. Because she would have got one time. It does not matter. So.
Maybe.
So I just have a couple of things. Thank you so much. This was really a lot of great information, and I'm really encouraging us to think about how we can use your data to really help parents and families understand some of it. So, and I think we have another data or special board meeting. We have 2. So like your all the things you just said about your KPI and your sprint goal data, I would love to see that on this slide.
Okay.
And I would love it if some of your slides, they're very useful, but if I really didn't know how to read them, I wouldn't know that some of those numbers are numbers of students. I'd love to maybe decide to see what those curricular involvements are. You just mentioned a few. I don't really know, but it would be great to see them. I think what I'm sort of asking for is more information, and I know you don't have a lot of time. I know you're really, really busy, but I do believe that there are some really great stories here, and I really want families and caregivers to be able to easily access that information by looking at some of this data and not trying to figure out what does 15.9 mean, you know? So I just am kind of putting a plug in for, and I know you don't have a lot of time, but for adding some language that helps everybody really understand what you're saying on these slides. Because some of us get it, we look at them a lot, but it's easy for the information to just kind of wash over you, and you think, well, I think they're doing better, you know. You mentioned the scores. That would be great to see that on the slide. What are those scores? And how long have you been doing AP seminar?
This is our first year.
This is just your very first
Yeah.
year. So again, that I would, in where you talked about that, passing rate and that kind of thing. It'd be great to have a little more information.
Okay.
And how do you define failing?
So anything,
Yeah.
so if anybody that has an F, so right now our failure rates are based on the students that have basically you have an F and you fail. Anything from an A to a D is a pass.
Is a passing, and is that a percentage or points or?
Well, so it gets converted. So
Gets
all of our, because we're proficiency based, so everything gets basically, they get scored on a 1 through 4 scale.
Okay.
And then there's a conversion rate to determine based on that, what is considered an A, what is a B, what is a C.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Kim,
No, I think that's really good. I was gonna say something.
thank
about-
you. I know you had a bad day today.
Never mind.
It's
Just a little busy at the office. Thank you for being here, President. Sorry I was late.
If you have any questions, I'm always happy to follow up with you.
I remembered my question.
Yeah.
In the AP seminar, do they get to pick their teams when they do these team
No.
projects, or are they assigned?
They're assigned. Yep. So, I mean, that's what they've tried this year. The fear of allowing students to pick their teams then becomes unequitable amongst strengths and weaknesses. And so
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's why the instructors chose to kind of try to balance that out. Yeah. Not to say that that's the best approach, but that's what they're trying this year. And they'll give us.
Well, you don't want any kid to be the last one picked.
Sure.
you know, on a team.
Yeah.
Well, there's always gonna be.
I know. But if they don't know it,
It still happens in college, even though when you're in a cohort and you're relying on, I mean, my daughter at U of O had the senior cohort and they were relying on all the other team members. She had to do the work for the other 3 team members so she could pass.
Doesn't go away in real life though either.
yeah, that's life.
Now, I will, in the discussions that we've had with the different school districts, especially McDaniel up in Portland, that have already implemented AP Seminar as a sophomore English course and then pre-AP, they've really given us a lot of good feedback on what would go well. And so I don't think it's really appropriate here to share, but I love it. You know, kind of what our thoughts are for next year as we start planning and how we kind of divide up our students into those courses to help them be, because the hardest part about it is you want them to be successful, but we're also trying to prepare students to take a rigorous test. And so trying to figure out the balance of making sure that, you know, all the students are getting exactly what they need, but then there's also a group that we want to make sure to get that qualifying score. And that's what's really most important.
I think you did a great job with being voluntold.
Yeah.
Very last minute,
Stephanie and Katie.
do it.
Yeah, Stephanie and Katie, they get all the credit for it. They did a phenomenal job. They spent a lot of time over the summer working on this. So
Maybe. do you have another question?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Marshfield High School passing rate, September and October slide. is that, I'm not quite clear. Is it 8% of the 12th grade that are failing?
Yes.
Okay,
92%.
But,
In class.
at one class?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that kind of information is so helpful to have on these slides.
Any more questions for Eli?
Great job.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
While Dr. Crook comes out,
That's right.
I will remind the board that I will be presenting some of the co-curricular data at our November board meeting. We just closed the survey Friday, so we're really early in kind of breaking down some of that data. So I should have some more disaggregated information for meeting. And additional, we're tracking down kids that have to take it. So,
There is that.
Dr. Crook.
Hello. All right, so I am going to just present some destinations data and so we'll just get started. First off, we have our regular attenders. Our regular attenders last year were at 23%. Again, just a reminder that regular attenders are students that are there 90% or more of the time. One of the things that we instituted last year that increased our regular attenders, so we were like 9% previously or somewhere around there, was we started a welcoming call to our students, or the attendance call protocol, and it goes directly to our students. My two lovely secretaries do that, and at 10 o'clock, if they're not at school, it is a phone call to them, and they leave them a message if they can, or talk to the student and say, hey, we miss your face, come to school, we really want to see you, and nothing's punitive. And when they walk in the door, we say, we're so happy to have you here. And so that really increased our attendance. We're still working on it, obviously. Our goal, right now we're at 38% regular attenders. Our 10th graders brought that down a lot. So we're working on those 10th graders, and our goal for the year is now 48%. On the next slide, I think Mr. Roberts had shown you this slide earlier at a different board meeting. Really quickly, these are the number of credits earned at destinations last year. We don't have an F rate to share with you because that's not how our school works. Students can receive an incomplete when they're working on something, but it's get it done, and we don't want to see any failure. So, and we can do that with a small group of 50 students. And so last year we had 16 seniors. They averaged about 9.4 credits, 150 total. We had 20 juniors who averaged about 8.27 credits with 165 earned. Sophomores, we had 13 last year with an average of, yes.
What is like
What should they
full-time?
get?
Yeah, what is full-time enrollment for a year? I mean,
For a full year, if you were to look at Marshfield's schedule,
Yeah.
it would be 7.25 credits
Okay.
a year.
Okay.
So
So students, so the seniors are actually doing
more,
more.
yes, than they had to graduate on time.
Right.
So for sure.
Way
Way behind. Yes.
That's it provides a lot of information
Yeah.
to understand.
Absolutely.
Baseline. Thank you so much.
Yes. And then we had 4 freshmen last year, and they averaged about a 7.19. And then total, we had over 466 credits earned with about 53 students overall. So, and of those seniors, we graduated all of them, and the juniors, I think we graduated 6 or 7 early. Moving on to pre-ACT, like Mr. Ashton said, we kind of just threw our kids in and said, do this test. We had no prep work. We had maybe 3 of our 9th graders out of 4 finish it completely. And in math, we scored at a 16.5 for freshmen and a 17.5 in science. Our 10th graders did a little
lower than what our ninth graders did, with a 15 in math and 11.5 or 0.8 in science. And I think, Eli, did you say 19
Yes.
is the national, like, college ready line there. And then in reading, our ninth graders were at a 15, 15.5 for our 10th grade, English 14, and 12.3 for our 10th graders. So if you know our student population, sometimes not all of them got completed, not all tests got completed. But I think this was about 8 students for 10th grade and 3 students for 9th grade. And I'm pretty proud of their scores. English language arts for OSAS. There seemingly seems to be this opt-out culture right now in testing. So this is a small subset of my 11th graders. But we scored a 31 total for ELA, and the state average was a 47%. Our goal is a 40 this year. So we'll see how that goes. We have some good English teachers and some good, right now they're reading like crazy. They're reading library books, they're writing, and so we'll see how it goes. Math, we were at 14% passing. The state average was 21%, and a 17% is our goal this year. I have a phenomenal math teacher. She works individually one-on-one with each and every student. And so we're working to get what they need. For science, I'm pretty proud of it.
Can you just?
Yep.
The state averages here,
Mm-hmm.
are these for alternative education programs? These are just state averages? Okay.
Yep. It's hard. It would be hard for me to find that because in Oregon, when I asked for a list from the person who runs the alternative programs from ODE, they kind of said, well, there's some high schools, we have kind of a list, but there's a lot of programs that we don't track. And so it kind of depends on what you need. And so there is now a board for alternative education, and they're working on getting a lot more data that is specific to alternative ed. Yes.
The other thing is, alternative education means different things.
To
in
different
So
schools,
some
yeah.
places it's really advanced, and other places
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
a whole
Yeah.
section of kids. So it's a difficult one to average together.
Yes. Oh, okay. So science, I am proud of the 25% there for science. We do a lot of science at our school. We have opportunities for a lot of hands-on science this year. And this is without having a science teacher. So this year I have a science teacher. And so I'm super excited to see where we go from here. She currently teaches lab classes, so everything's hands-on, which is pretty cool. One of the KPI data points that the state had asked for was school climate and student engagement. And I've been tracking for the last year how students are feeling about being at school. And there's 3 categories right at this in here. The first one being well-being, and that's really about how the student feels themselves while they're at school. The engagement is whether or not they're engaged with their school activities, whether they're engaged in their classrooms and how they feel about that. And then the school connectedness is all about whether or not they're feeling connected to other students, their teachers, and the school in general. And so as you can see, this is the beginning of the year for this year. And so this is a range of students. So, we replaced about half of our student population this year. And so we know we have some work on a few students for their well-being, engagement, and school connectedness. So we're hoping those low perception numbers go down as we get into the middle of the year and then the end of the year. But overall, our students tend to have a high perception of the school climate and their engagement with it. And then finally, you guys have seen this, some of you have seen this already. This is our graduation rate over the course of several years. As you can see, The first one on there was a 5% graduation rate. It went down to 4.19, and then 38, 40%. The year I became principal, the year before was at a 29%. And so we've steadily increased, and our new graduation rates won't be public until probably January, but they will be released to us on Thursday, and I'm super excited to see where we landed this year. So, and questions?
Thank you so much. I hear wonderful things about destinations, and I'm gonna sort of say some things that I said to the high school. I would love to see the Character Strong Student Perception Survey itself. I'd be really interested in understanding a little bit more about how they define high, medium, and low. I'm also, you mentioned the national scores for, I believe, ACTs or something, pre-ACTs. Be great if those were on these slides, so we could see where those fall.
And maybe I can speak to that. We tried to get that data on the slides, but we worked a lot with our ACT rep, and all she could give us was not hard numbers, but like Marshfield is 2.6% higher on this, but wouldn't she sent us even a booklet of things, but it didn't have any kind of.
So you're using data that they spit out for you.
Yeah.
And then you cannot.
Yeah, and we will continue to work on it with our representative. I can't remember her name, and I don't want to what Emily, but Eli and I were working with her over the last few weeks trying to get more disaggregated data on this for the presentation. And we got a late email on Friday.
Yeah, I understand you can't control what all of these contractors, however what you want to call them, are spitting out for you. And then it's really hard to manipulate what they send you and add things that provide more information. But it is really helpful.
Sure.
I think on slide 21 you talked about attenders.
Yes.
And it would be great to have on this slide, if possible, how many there are.
How many students there are?
Yeah, you said it.
How many regular
Yeah.
attenders there are,
Yeah.
or the number of students in the school?
Both. Again, like I was sort of saying, the more information that is on here that helps the viewer see, then it's just easier to get it. So thank you very much. And the thing you said about 7-point credits for a senior, if that was on your credits earned slide, so we had a place to. Thank you.
Anything else, maybe?
No, thank you very much.
Arnie?
I'm good.
Kim?
What program do you use for this? So we're gonna get a lot of canned slides, mostly that just have your data in them. So it's gonna look much the same throughout the night. Now, what would you say it was through?
I built the slides through PowerPoint.
Oh,
Through PowerPoint. But when we went to do the ACT slides, we built them off of our raw data scores. But then when we tried to go back and find the national averages and things like that, we were trying to reach out to the reps because they're not just regularly published.
but through the PowerPoint that you created, there can be more data added.
Oh yeah, I can go in. We can go in
Okay.
and manipulate the.
Eli has something to add to.
The other thing too, so they give you these, the score, the 15-point whatever.
Right.
And then they give you these, like the other metric is the on target. You post the target. And so they throw out all these different things that we're not really, this is all new to us. We've never done it before. So we're trying to sift through all these things. So we'll fine tune and we'll know better, by the spring and then by next fall and all that kind of stuff. So
I think that's helpful. And I think just going at it through the mindset of maybe talked about it, if you were a community member or a parent in the district, what would this mean to you? Because that's huge. Even, us who are on the school board, not all of us, some of you have been in education your entire lives, but not everyone knows exactly what all of this means. So it's important to look at your audience. And I mean, I think that's some of the things that you pointed out would be
Sure.
great.
Absolutely.
One, because you have so many good things to share. That's really what I want to do, is leverage all this great data.
Good job.
Dr. Rudelsky?
Oh, I had an opportunity to visit destinations, and the culture there was fabulous, and just getting to meet the students was really wonderful. One question I had after looking at the slides was, it sounds like you've got a great program for welcoming students and trying to boost attendance. What else could you be doing? Is there something else that you, understanding that, in all student populations, but yours in particular, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control. Is there something else that you think you could do to push attendance higher?
So one of the areas of our focus this year is family engagement.
Okay.
And so far we've done open house, and that was pretty well attended, actually, which we were super surprised, in all honesty. And so, but we also fed them, and there were games, and the leadership team have all kinds of things going on. And then our leadership team has been tasked now to do one event each month. So this month they ended up pairing up with the ASB from Marshfield and doing the trunk or treat. So that's what they focused on. And then don't remember what November is going to be, but yeah. So we are really trying to focus in on that family engagement part, because it is an area that we have not done a great job on in previous years.
That's right. And one of the things that I've always noticed, and I love the graduation, it's beautiful, but even I had a kiddo in there last year, and how connected those kids are with Dr. Crook, and how that relationship. I mean,
It's important.
that's what they're doing right, and they can do it because they've got a smaller group, but I've seen schools that are small that don't do it. So I think you're doing a fabulous job. One thing I remember was when I was at CE2, all our the old way back, Ed, back when he was in charge of it. I don't even know if this is legal, but I got a phone call saying, I got a donut here with your name on it. I always showed up.
Bribes. What's not legal about that? I have a question. When you were talking about the activities that kids were participating in, are there special destination clubs and activities, or do they participate over at MHS?
So they can participate at Marshfield. We're gathering that data to see which students are accessing it. Some of my kids thought it was, what can I sign up for? So now we know what they need to sign up for. We do have that data now, but at destinations, because we do project seminars on Fridays, most of my kids don't want to do after school things. And so, we do have our leadership that's every day. And on Fridays, they have about 2 hours of time where they are doing project-based learning. And so we have students that are connected through the watershed, the Coos watershed. One of my students got a job there after he graduated because of what a good worker he was, and they put in a good word. So that connection has been pretty awesome. They've done, they planted trees. That was one of them, yeah. Yep. So they've been kind of all over the place. They planted trees at South School last year. They remove invasive species all around our city. They do a lot of that kind of thing. We have a Native Studies Club, and our students learn all about our local Native cultures. They're cutting things out for our littles at the K2 level. They do all kinds of things like that. We have a culinary class that's starting. We have new stoves and new refrigerators, and the kids get to actually be in a kitchen instead of using toaster ovens. And then we have a movement class, and the kids are learning about positive recreation in our area. So every Friday, they're hiking, they're biking, they're figuring out what it means to be mindful within our trails and things like that. So yeah, and then we have a new STEAM class, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And Dr. Rogowski got to see some of their creations last week, but it's been,
correct?
yes, they were, it was an interesting class. And so they do have a lot of those kinds of things that they get to be involved in. And then any kid that wants to do anything at Marshfield, they do that. So our kids were at homecoming, they go to prom, they participate in games, whatever's necessary.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Trevor. Mr. Ardall? Soccer tonight. That's why we went
Yes.
first with high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So. Eli, you go
That's
right.
why
Everybody
one of our
like-
board members said,
Yeah.
I like it that you went that way.
Well,
Mr. Ardall?
thank you I appreciate your time and everybody in the audience as well online. So this is gonna be a kind of like everybody else, a mixture of some of last year's data along with some this year and some goals. So, all right, here we go.
Mr. Ardall, I apologize too. Somehow your Sabbath slide, your whole school
Should have been
got
down lower,
shifted up somehow today. So you're
Okay.
gonna get Mr. Ardall and Marshall Junior High's Sabbaths by 7th and 8th grade later, but this got shifted up today. So I don't know what happened. Go ahead.
Anyway, so this is our whole school Sabbath beginning of the year and with the end of the year goals. So on the left side, you'll see what we got at the start of this year and what we're shooting for. So Sabbath is our math. Very cool. So, regular attenders. Last year we had 56%, so 90% of our, so 56% regular attenders, and this year we're kind of been hanging around on 70% for a while. So I think we can make a goal, keep trying to get 75%, which would be a huge increase. So, passing rate. So this is so far this year. So you see the 20%, 13% for 7th and 8th grade. Last year, I think we ended the year around like 12 and 14 of those numbers, if I remember correctly. So definitely, and we'll see some goals in that area here later on, but definitely something that we're trying to lower. This is by so content area now, so our core subjects. Same thing, ELA, math, social studies, and science at the bottom there. Math still comes in a little lower here. This is as of Friday. So it does fluctuate, but right now it's around there. Our PACT math and science scores is last year. We don't have this year's data yet. So nothing really to compare it to yet. But we did just take that, and we should see in the upcoming weeks something we can compare it to. So this should be connected to the other slide previously. This breaks it down by grade level. So 7th grade on the left side, how we started our year with our diagnostic, and then 8th grade on the right side. This is our OSAS from, so this combines the state averages as well as what we got last year in the blue and our goals in green. So if you look at the 7th grade from last year, that's the same cohort as the one right here we're making a goal for 8th grade this year. So it's a little better. 48% last year in ELA. They can definitely get 55 this year. It's one of their strengths in that 8th grade class this year. Math, we're a little lower.
Can you go back to that last slide?
Yep.
So you said that basically the blue bar and the green bar that's the
Yep.
same group of people.
Same, yeah, right here.
Blue bar is what they scored last year. The green bar is the gold.
Okay, but so why does it go from 48 to 35%?
This is the 8th grade class last year, which are 9th graders now.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So here's in math we got last year. So again, this cohort that achieved that, we're making a goal here for them this year. And this is the 9th graders this year. So I think we can actually try to get 40 Science a little lower, I think a little lower than normal, looking at years in the past. We're usually in the low to mid 20s. And last year we got around 19 to 20%. And so we're making a goal to get the state average this year. So raise it up about 7-8%. And my last slide, just so just some extra data, which is nice to know about. So the co-curricular, you saw Eli present with the bar graphs on how students are involved with what activities outside of school. We had 327 kids take the survey and 264 responses of they're involved with something. So that's good, 81%. And then some random data here, right? So Algebra 1 enrollment, our goal is to get 50% in our KPI. And right now we're around 25%. Other math totals that are interesting though is in 7th grade, we have 31 kids that are in advanced accelerated 7th grade math and 52 in some kind of advanced math. So I think there's 45 in Algebra 1 and 7 in high school geometry. So it's pretty cool. And then lastly there at the bottom, so we have 15 kids enrolled in 16 high school classes right now. So, and I thought I'd throw in just some of our main focus areas that we're working on with this data. So my strategy is to keep the main thing the main thing. Don't spread yourself too thin and focus on what really matters here. And so we're trying to do Avid strategies. We were already in the 2 years previously, but implemented using our planners, which is part of Avid Wicker, the O in Avid and Wicker, which is an Avid strategy. And we also have already done we've implemented the Avid note-taking strategies as well as the marking the text strategies. This year we put in the C in Wicker, which is the collaboration piece. So more classroom student discussions. And so we're seeing a lot more of that. So we have 4 things going with Avid right now. And then we're working with First Education ongoing with Chad, trying to kind of like Eli was talking about is our grade book, changing our grade book to be more of a success criteria and proficiency based. Now there's sports we're doing for students. So this is our first year that we're trying to establish an MTSS team at the junior high. And our goal, we meet every 2 weeks, and our goals are to discuss students' attendance and grades and how those go together, as well as their behavior. And we make a plan with those kids from there. Whether that's Behavior Academy, which is a new thing we're doing this year to help them with whatever they're struggling with. Right now, well, it just ended actually just a little bit ago. We have tutoring Mondays now, every day with Mr. Price, our math teacher. And we have, as well as every day, our core classes those are open to students to come and get extra help in the morning. Our back class or homeroom, that's where the teachers can also help students and give them grade checks as well. And our PLCs are ongoing from last year, which they're doing well. We have a good staff that work well together. Their focus, so last Friday's focus was focused on students with Fs. And so some of our goals we look at weekly or twice a week with our sprint goals. So clarity with teachers, students knowing our goals and progress every day. So I want students to know our goals as well as teachers know our goals. And those goals are attendance, which we talked about already, math, bringing that up, it's a little bit lower, and our F rates. And then I think that's it. Questions?
Thank you so much. I love keeping the main thing the main thing. I say that all the time.
It's not my quote, but I like it.
I know, I don't know who said it, but I say it too. It would be great if on the other KPI data and on some of these slides, some of us are newer to the board and we're not going to know what some of these things mean, like MTSS, Avid, that kind of thing. And I know we'll be looking at these slides again. So once again, I'm just asking for, more. I'd love to know involvement, 81% of what, like a little more information about what they said would be really interesting.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you.
And there was something else.
On the survey, are you being?
Yeah,
Co-curricular, sir.
that was about it. Have you ever, and this I guess really is a question for you, at this point in the year, is there a reason why we don't have the end of last year's data on these slides?
For any of these?
Yeah,
Because I gave them all out at the board meeting 2 weeks ago, at the end of the year data for all of these slides, except for the co-curricular, because we've never tracked it.
right. But so what I don't know is how for instance, what happened with the 7th and 8th grade last year when they were 6th and 7th graders,
Or
for instance, proficient in math.
that would have been, I gave slides at the last board meeting that had all of the data for each of the state assessments for the 6th graders. So the
Okay.
7th grade would just have to go back and look at where they're
Right.
at
I guess that's kind of what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
But it's another topic. Thank you.
And the other thing I would like is that, we have percentages, it would be nice to know what the N is.
Yeah.
How many 8th graders, how many 7th graders do we have, so that when I look at it,
Yeah.
it instantly makes sense to me how many kids it would be that make up that percentage. So that's just me.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim?
Yeah, my questions are, regular attenders in junior high. That just seemed, what were those numbers? Like 56% of our junior high kiddos were regular attenders. I can see why high school destinations are, lower. You don't have any choice when you go to junior high, right? You just get dropped off. That's not an open campus. What's the barrier there for the junior high kiddos?
Oh, the barrier to get to school?
Yeah, the regular attenders, is it just a ton of illness? Are these kids skipping? I mean, what's happening that gets them below the 90%?
So we
to be
meet
counted?
in our teams. Usually some of the stuff is you have your chronic ones that don't want to come, which are very small. But the ones that pack in a lot of absences there was a vacation at some point, 5 days they were gone, or there was a sickness that they were off and on with that sickness in their family. So something like that. We have a ton of kids that are in the 80% range.
Well, see, that would be good to know. So, yeah, I think that would be good. And then what are the state and national average for junior high attendance in 7th and 8th grade? I mean,
The state in this, I don't remember what it is. This is 69% of our kids are coming 90% of the time. That's what that means.
yeah. So, but I would love to see,
How we
Compare.
stack up
How we-
against other,
yeah, the state, I don't know. That's not, I don't know if that's always the bar to shoot for.
The
But
number of students would be helpful too in this.
yeah,
in this
yeah,
particular
absolutely.
slide.
So I know,
Right, if 30%.
300
Or
yeah.
30, yeah.
students. And then I would like to know a little more about, you mentioned Behavior Academy. Is that a punitive? How do you get to the Behavior Academy? It sounds a little bit like the Umbrella Academy or something.
No, so Gary actually knows a lot about this. They did Cottage Grove, but something that he presented to me and I thought was interesting. But it's more we're trying to use it with kids that are more in the tier 2 area, where they've developed maybe a habit of doing something with behavior. And we have, I think, 7 or 8 academies. And maybe one's for, respect, or one's for fighting, or that kind of thing. And so we divvy that up with our MTSS team on who's in charge of those academies. We've had a few that have met them already, and we're still pretty early in starting. We're just starting with some kids. But basically, we're trying to help them develop new habits in those areas.
So is it a curriculum?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's ongoing for how many weeks? 6 weeks or something like that?
So, and not quite accurate, and where you got it from, Mr. Arnold, but that's
Okay.
fine. Last spring, I was doing some research with other schools around the state on discipline referrals and referral data, and wanted to get some comparisons to see, because we heard from staff about behaviors being an issue. And so I contacted a bunch of principals in the Oregon Elementary Principals Association and said, hey, what are you guys seeing? And one of the principals over in Redmond said, oh, our referrals went from 1,300 to 700 to 300. I said, well, what did you do to get your behaviors down to 300? And they used the system called the Behavior Solutions and the Behavior Academies. And so when they have a student that reaches, I'm just going to throw out some arbitrary numbers, but they had a student that receives 5 referrals for hands-on, for going hands-on at the elementary level. They have a hands-on academy. They put that student in there. They run like a 6-week cycle. They set goals and they meet weekly. And then if the student can avoid having more issues of being hands-on, then they graduate out of the hands-on academy. And then they go through every Wednesday. They have academy meetings in their building, and then they go from there. And so I had the books, and we were looking at doing some implementation at Millicoma, and then I over here. But I handed the books off to Kyle because I was kind of talking about it, and I said, "Well, here, we're kind of looking at this. Why don't you take a read and see?" And so they've been using them.
And this
Still
is the
very
first
new. We're
year.
trying.
Yeah, first year.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so when I'm
8 weeks.
envisioning it, I'm envisioning, there's 4 kids that have 5 hands-on referrals, Joey, Jimmy, whatever, and come on, everybody, we're going on to the hands-on academy. And you go into a special room or a different room and you work with them on this curriculum, or is it more of a one-on-one with a counselor, or is there any kind of?
So we're very new at it still, but we're
Okay.
doing one-on-one. So I have like 1 kid right now doing it.
Okay,
But
all
that's
right,
that's
so-
where we're at. Right
okay.
Now. So
In Redmond, they meet as groups, small groups, 2 or 3 students, and they say, how can we handle conflict without using our hands and things of that nature. And
What do they call a hands-on group?
they call the hands-on academy the hands-on academy, but they have several. They have language
I think there's
academy,
8.
and they have
Bad
I'd love to
language
see it.
academy?
Yeah.
I'd love to see more about
so.
it.
Anyways,
Really interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's possibly a promising program. I'm trying to get more about it as it goes on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
It looks like math is a troublesome subject area for some of your students. What is the strategy for writing that problem for some of our students? Because one of the things that's really problematic about math is once you get a failing grade in math, or once you have felt like you don't have success at math, people start to say, I'm just not good at math, and kind of give up. And that can be a real handicap as people go forward to careers of all different types. And so I was just wondering, what junior high level seems like a really important level where people are either going to go and they're going to complete some important math classes, or they're going to say, I don't do math, and they're going to have some troubles. And so what are you and your staff focusing on? How are you going to turn those kids around who are having real trouble in math right now?
Yeah, and I don't think there's a magic wand, but I think there are some things we're trying. Right, we're trying our math tutoring after school. We're trying before school, where there's that option where teachers can encourage kids to come in for make up this or make up that, extra help. Our Success Maker, so our Savvas stuff, that's an extra supplemental resource for kids that we are requiring kids to get 60 minutes per week, which will build on their individual skills. So those are some things we're doing right now. Our PLCs are our math department. They're focusing in on that group.
Just one thought I have here, and those all sound like real positive things, good things you're doing. Perhaps family and data, getting the families engaged in this as well could be a real helpful thing. Because when I hear you say after school, before school, those are great opportunities, but those are opportunities that often it's going to be the kids who don't need it who are going to show up. Like I think of my boys who, for whatever reason, they love math, and so they would show up to that just because they like math. But that's really not the target audience, right? It's those kids who don't necessarily want to come, but maybe if they had a parent saying, no, you really need to do this, they'd be more likely to use that resource.
And I agree with you, but we do have about 20 kids sign up for after school tutoring right now, which is great.
That's awesome.
So,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
And what is the parent engagement like at the junior high?
I think a good tool that we're using right now is Parent Square. Our teachers are trying to make a lot of content through those meetings. I still try to encourage phone calls. Those go a long way sometimes, just that personal piece. But Parent Square is huge, and we're doing a lot of communication that way. Some teachers more than others.
I've heard some really positive things from some friends of mine in the community who have students at the junior high saying that Parent Square has been very helpful for them.
Good.
And that they get good and meaningful communication from the children's teachers through that app.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Mr. Guthrie? No Melcoma. While Mr. Gutch is coming up, Dr. Rogowski and Dr. Rosengarten, I do want to say, being new board members, this is our second year of our Savvis curriculum. Before we had adopted Savvis, we had quite the hodgepodge of math curriculum in the district. So, for example, when I was a principal at Melcoma 2 years ago, I had 3 different math curriculums in 4 grades. So 3 different adopted math curriculums. So we're super excited that we have 2 curriculums for math, a K-8 with Savvis and then high school curriculum. So I also think that is going to help us, because as we were shifting from 3rd grade to 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade, we were getting different scope and sequence, different priority standards at different times in the year. So I think those things are also going to help our math students as we move forward.
Yeah, and this is your second year with Savvis?
This is our second year with Savvis. And I think you're going to see, as you look at some of our Savvis data at the lower levels, we're slowly starting to see some of the fruits of that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think when we put this data out to lay people, community members, one thing that a way to present it that I think makes a lot of sense to most people is to present it like a story. So to present this is the class of blank, and then show them through the years, saying,
Look at cohorts.
Look at cohorts. Cohorts make a lot of intuitive sense to most people, even if graphs don't. If they see generally we're getting more blue and green as we go across, and we know that the bottom axis is time, people go, great. And then if we see big dips or failure to change, people can understand it.
Stories are engaging.
They are really engaging, and people, you probably, that 5th grade class, they were so active. But that 3rd grade class, I remember them. I mean, people talk about the cohorts that their kids are in and follow them along.
Yeah, and they know all the other kids that are in.
The board wants stories.
Yeah, I think it's
data and stories.
I think those slides that are, and I've mentioned this to Superintendent Roberts, that are really as explicit as we can make them for the lay person, and then we can really tell some great stories. We've got a lot of really good data, actually,
Hi, I'm Kevin Guthrie. I'm the interim principal at Melcoma. Gary stole half my openers there. I was going to touch on the fact that I think a thing that affects our higher levels is we haven't had a coordinated math curriculum. We've had this over here and this over here. Now, as Mr. Roberts shared, we've got this K-8 where we're all doing the same thing. I don't know if we can name all of our kids Jensen. And I just forgot the other boy's name. Yeah, the Rogowski method to get our math scores up. I do want to share that my goals, when I was developing goals for our school, I looked at last year's goals. I looked at the 2028 board goals and thought, okay, so what looks like a good number to get us on track to that. Speaking to attendance too, at the lower levels, junior high, elementary, it's not a kid that has his own way to get himself or herself to school. So it becomes a parent thing at that level. And then you run into work, sickness, whether a sibling is sick and someone's got to stay home and take care of the kids. So there's a lot of different dynamics that go into attendance. Last year we were at 62% regular attenders. I set a goal of 80, which was our goal last year also. Currently we're at 70. We looked last year, we tracked just daily attendance, and we looked awesome. We were in the 90s, the high 80s. But when you go to that regular 90% of the time being there, it makes a big difference on our attendance. All of a sudden my slides are out of order. That's okay. Okay, so DIBELS is again our language arts. You guys have these available, I think. This is our beginning of the year outcome. So we have blue, green, yellow, red. Blue is exceeding grade level. Green is at grade level. Yellow is approaching grade level, and then red is below. So this was our beginning of the year score. This is our goal. So you can see we got a lot of work to do to get this big chunk of yellow and red shrunk. Basically this whole group's going to have to move up a level, and some of this group's going to have to move up 2 levels. So it's a pretty lofty goal. with our curriculum, all of these students go to their core class, they get their grade level material delivered at grade level. And then our interventions, we meet them where they are. And so our intervention time is where we're really going to see our growth in this. I didn't look at the data, but the data shows that those kids need to hear their grade level instruction. So we don't just pull them out of that and really focus on where they're at. Well, they need to hear the grade level, but then our interventions are at the level where they're at. And I think we have some really good software with Amplify that it helps us identify this. It's not just a teacher going, oh, I think you're struggling with this. It really dives into what they're seeing in their testing and really targets that intervention for them. These are just different substrands of our DIBELS score. This one, oral reading fluency, seems to really closely match what we're actually seeing as our overall score. So kind of focus on that. Again, a lot of work to do to get to our goal. This is our third grade scores. Third grade would be the first group we've had that has had DIBELS, Amplify every year. We started that when they were kindergartners. So this third grade group is interesting to me because I want to see what that does. Because like our older groups had other curriculum, and then I think a thing that might hurt them too is when a fourth grader goes into fourth grade, Amplify is assuming they had kindergarten, first grade, second grade of Amplify. And so I think it's taken a while to catch up to that. So this is our third grade broken down. It's our fourth grade broken down. Again, this is still our overall school goal. And then these are the third grade, what's particular to third grade. And then this is our fifth grade. And I think fifth grade, let me just go back one.
Did you say those were your goals,
This-
the first column?
Except for this one. Somehow this one, the third column is our goal on fifth grade.
Accuracy.
Yeah, that's his accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. The only overall goal we put in was a school-wide goal at the very beginning.
okay.
That's-
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
that's what I thought. It just,
What
Yeah.
does MACE stand for?
It is what they call a vocabulary comprehension. So the students have 1 minute, they read a passage, and it gives them 3 things to select. One is the correct answer, it's worth 1 point. One is kind of correct and worth half a point, and the other one is just wrong and worth 0 points. And so the students read, and then they choose one of the 3 vocabulary words that fills in at different points, and then it assigns them. It's traditionally been the most difficult assessment for our students. We've spent a lot of time in the last few years doing practice mazes, as we've, but it traditionally has been one of the more difficult ones. I will also say some of these
One of the things
assessments.
that I've heard about this test, one of the things that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's particularly challenging about this test is if you put in the wrong word first, it may change the meaning of the passage, so it's more likely to put in, like it's more difficult to get a right answer once you've gotten off.
I'll be honest, I don't know that about the assessment.
But it's like you read a passage and there's multiple things to fill. There's multiple vocabulary words to fill in, right? So the meaning of the paragraph gets more and more nonsensical the more times you put in the wrong word. So if
When
you
you're off track, you're
once you're off track, you're a little bit
Yeah.
off track. So
I
it's a
can
very
see
it's a
that.
very so that's one reason why as a type of assessment it could be particularly challenging.
And the other thing is when you're looking at these, both the words per minute and the maze, both of them are timed. So we have students that have anxieties, students that are some of our special education students. You tell them, I want you to read this for 1 minute, and immediately the anxiety meter goes off and they have a hard time. We've tried to do some things. We're not supposed to have accommodations for these assessments because we want to see where we are at on one blanket level across the building. But every once in a while, for example, we had a student a few years ago that was very mobile, did not like being seated at all during the day. And we had him do the oral reading fluency test standing up in a big screen TV instead of like one of these TVs and he scored about 25 words better on the assessment than he did when he was sitting down reading it off the paper. So, but so I just want to also have the board members be aware of that there are some things within these tests that make it a struggle for some of our students.
Absolutely. And to me, all of this data is, thanks to everyone who gathers it and all the work that goes into it. But it is only one piece of the whole story that's happening. It's one day, one snapshot, one thing.
Right.
And so it's really one small puzzle piece of school in my mind, and we have to be careful about that.
Go ahead, Mr. Gainsborough. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's right.
Interceded.
This is our sixth grade, same data for sixth graders. So this is our math, whole school. So this is our goal, 3rd through 5th grade for end of the year goal. This is what we found when we tested them beginning of the year. And then this is 6th grade goal and what we saw for 6th grade. So again, big changes needed there. Pretty lofty goals that we've established. Can we do it? I think we can. And I'd rather set a lofty goal and fall short than say, well, okay, here's a realistic goal and we hit it, but we don't really stretch anybody. So this is our whole school math.
When you say goal, what do you mean goal?
So this is what I would like to see us at the end of the year.
But that says beginning of year.
This one is beginning of year.
And so does
Boy.
the next one.
No,
say beginning of
this
year.
is, it's an E.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to see.
It is, yeah.
It's very, yeah.
The slides are hard to read.
I don't like them.
So
Sorry. Gary.
everything that's labeled EOY
Okay, I
is
got
our
it.
goal.
Yeah.
And everything that's
This
BOY
is-
is what
this
we
is
saw.
what double studs.
Right.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have a choice,
Right.
no, but maybe we can get creative about, because if we want people to learn to want, to
Learn
read
more
things and
about data.
understand them.
I mean, it's some soul searching. I mean, we presented the data the way we have for the last 2
Yeah.
or 3 years, but it
Yeah.
sounds like the board would like to see something different in how it's presented. And it's our job as admin to provide what you guys would like to see.
Knowing that that's not always easy.
goals. I like your lofty goals.
Yeah. I
Thank
do
you.
too.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Hopefully you'll be filming that in June. Good job. This is by grade level, our math again. So we had 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And this is our beginning of the year assessment that we did with our students. So a lot of red. We want to get rid of that red. We want to turn our yellows green, and we have very little blue on there also.
Did you notice a significant drop over the summer?
I don't have last year's. That's a question of mine, is how much did we drop over the summer?
Yeah, it'd be good to see.
Yeah, and we've talked as building at the K-6 level, we've talked as building administrators about how we may look at handling next year's beginning of the year in terms of we usually wait a couple weeks, do assessments, then start looking at interventions. We've talked about trying to build a model based off of some school districts that we've heard from up north, where the students finish their interventions in the spring and they roll right back into those intervention groups to start the year. And we go through about 4 weeks of intervention, then do our beginning of the year assessments to get more of an accurate measure of where they're at and try to avoid some of the summer learning loss.
And that's a struggle with the math, because we have to have 700 minutes of success maker before we can start to group them to do those targeted interventions. And so that's 4 hours. In the Rogowski household, that's about 2 weekends. His kids love doing it. And we look at their minutes, we're like, wow, these are amazing. Some of our kids really struggle to get those minutes.
So are these all tests done on screens?
Yes, the Savas is all on screen.
It always frustrates me with
the
that. As a
ELA
math
ones-
person, that would not be my way of doing that.
Yes,
So
the
I
ELA
use-
ones are some interaction with an actual adult test.
Yeah.
Some of it is on screen, but the math is all on screen.
Yeah, which as a math person, it
Right.
would not have been my best mode of understanding that.
Well, we have to remember it's just one puzzle.
That's right. Yep.
This is our English language arts state scores, and it came up a little bit earlier. So this was last year's 3rd grade. So really this, if you want to compare, will this group get to this state level and this goal? So all the blue ones you can shift over one set on there. I wasn't nearly as, my eyes weren't as wide open when I looked at my goals compared to what we had achieved. It came up earlier, you know, it'd be great to be beating the state, but we want to do better than that. So our goals are above state. This is our 4th grade last year. They met the state. They were the same as everyone in the state. Again, they'll be over here, so we need to get a little growth. Because we want to compare 3rd grade last year is now 4th grade this year. We want to, as you guys talked, we want to keep that growth. And then our math, again, the state's kind of disappointing. So again, I think we're in good shape. This one's got a lot of growth to do when they go over here, and we want to get them to 45. But this group was at 40, and we're trying to get them to 45. So I think most of our groups, these are very realistic goals, I think, on the OSAS. We're trying to kind of change the attitude towards that by teachers, families, and staff. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to report at progress reports last year's state scores for the students. Chad and his department have got all that paperwork for us put together, and try and give the parents a little more buy-in. We've struggled with opt-outs. Kyle shared, and I think Eli shared, that the ones that are opting out are sometimes our highest achievers. So we want to get them into that data.
The other part that's hard to understand, I think, especially in math, is conceptually each of those grade levels changes.
Right.
And so what you're getting tested on in 4th grade can be totally different from what you're being tested on in 5th grade, because you've gone from direct knowledge, kind of fact-based, to a more algebraic, and then to more, I mean, and those things mentally are difficult for kids. So again, I want to make sure people realize this is a snapshot one time. Is that
I taught math at Marshall for 9 years.
Yep.
And, you know, we spend 7 to 10 days going over a concept, and we test on it. Great, you guys know it. Here's the next one. You take your state test, and here's a geometry question, and here's an algebra question. Oh, and here's something from 9th grade, and here's something from 11th grade. It's just, right. And I didn't know how to recreate that for my students in the classroom. I don't know if the lower levels, if they move around quite that much, but it is different than what we're doing in the classroom.
And at a certain level, there should be, what's the education term? It's like scaffolding, like,
right,
which is the sort of making sure that what we learned in geometry or what we learned in algebra builds to the next thing, and then we circle back and we do something from a month ago just as a warm up today, so that we're keeping it fresh.
Okay, Garrett, we're going to start with you. Do you have any questions?
What I guess biggest question would just be to go back to that key performance indicator of attendance. What could Millicoma do better to get to that that lofty goal of 80% regular attenders? Because regular attender is a very high bar, actually.
It is.
Shouldn't be.
Well, no, but we use regular attender, but a regular attender is actually a very high bar. It for each individual 90%. Student.
So we just
90% of the days, that means missing less than 20 days of school, which given one flu illness, one family vacation, and a couple days.
We just finished our 8th week.
Yeah.
So roughly 40 days. So if you've missed more than 4 days to this point, you're not a regular attender.
Anyway,
and that's an important thing, though. Mr. Roberts did some research last year on you look at how many days a student misses, how many times that teacher is absent. All of a sudden, we're down to like 60% of the time that we've got everybody there that needs to be there. I think at our level, it's a family thing more so than at the high school, you may say, hey, Johnny, if you show up, we'll give you this gift card, or we'll do this, or we'll let you do this, because Johnny can get himself to and from school. For us, it's a family thing. There's a dynamic of if my 2nd grader's sick, then maybe my 4th grader doesn't go to school that day either. Just a lot of dynamics. I think for me, it would be understanding those dynamics before I just kind of make a shot in the dark, or we'll try this or we'll try this. We do swimming, which is incredibly important for kids that are surrounded by this much water. Yeah. Our main attendance advocate was the 2nd person in the pool for 4 weeks of swimming. So we didn't have him for 4 weeks. We go off to outdoor school. So getting those things in place too, I think we can definitely improve in that.
What could you do to understand that better? Is there a survey thing or you could send home with people who are not meeting the regular attenders, or there's something you could do to understand that? So you
Yeah, I
have
think maybe go to the source, right? Instead of reading a bunch of documents about some school in the Midwest that did this or did that, get right to the source and find out what are the struggles that your family faces in getting to school. I think most of us have come from, my family really valued education. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody. I think we deal with some families that probably based on their past don't value education as much. So I have to not look through my perspective, but I have to try and see through their perspective. It's something that me is like, that's really, why would you do that? It makes perfect sense to them and I don't understand. So
Yeah, I don't
I think
understand families taking vacation in the middle of the school.
Hunting used to be a major
Right.
depletion in
It's
our
part of
area.
the culture.
When hunting
so
season happened to open, we didn't have kids. I mean, it's just the way it was.
that's- Yeah.
And it's just, I think the other part is, if you ask employers, you'd have to, 90% of people came to school 90% of the time, they'd be ecstatic.
right.
I mean, and that's the role model that they have. In this company.
There's also a lot of trust. First, share why.
I would just say, I agree with families and the importance of school. One of the things my parents were very adamant about. We were in severe poverty, so things that I call luxuries, my husband always laughs at me. Insurance, paying car insurance was a luxury. And he's like, that's not a luxury, that's a law. But when you're trying to
Right.
pick, you've got food or you've got car insurance. So if your parent loses their license, it can make things so difficult. So
Right.
I do think that we have families who are in that boat who do believe in education and school, but you miss the school bus and you've got no one to drive you.
Right.
Then I think that's going to be getting down to set the source and finding out from each family. And then there's, a bucket of families too have had really bad school experiences
Right.
and they're intimidated. So I can see both sides of that. I just don't want us to forget that we do have families who value education, who might just not have resources. And then my other point was, I know we're going to have Sunset up next. I always like to look at the data versus the data.
Right.
So will these be side by side, or is this something I'm going to have to manipulate?
You're gonna manipulate.
Tonight you'll have to manipulate it, but I can take and lay them side by side.
I would like to see that at some point. Just kind of looking at our schools. I'll do a pin tonight.
Kim's always good about competition.
Yes, I'm always about competition. I represent the west side this time.
Can I chime in really quick? Can you guys hear me?
Diane,
Diane?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
we can.
Okay, I just wanted to second something that Kim said, and it goes back to, your hierarchy of needs. I do think the families care about education here. It's just there are a lot of things that this county and our families face, and I don't think that it's necessarily not about caring about education, but it's that they're facing things, food insecurities, shelter, those type of things that it's not necessarily not caring about education, the families. And then I think just looking at a deeper way of like engaging those families and making them comfortable in our schools. So I just wanted to throw that out there and just kind of co-sign what Kim said.
Thanks, Diane. I forgot to call on you before because I can't see your face in front of me. I'm looking at the slides, so. Just jump in, please.
It's okay. And then I just do have a couple quick questions. I know we're into Millicoma and the middle schools and things like that, but is there any like disaggregated data that tells us, like if there's a population of students that we're not serving in certain areas, or a certain data set of students that aren't performing as well, or are there those, is that data out there as well for us to look at to see if there's any interventions that can maybe help with those populations of kids?
Each of the programs that we have, Savisan, Dibbles, will help break down some of the data by students that are on IEP, students that meet certain demographics within the computer system, within Synergy for poverty rate, things of that nature. It will break down. We had last year where we had some data that was disaggregated by race and ethnicity, but we found in looking at it, it was pulling the Synergy data. And if you chose two or more multiple race, multi-race, two or more race, it would categorize in the first that was picked and then the second. So we're getting double students.
Gotcha.
So we're working with the Oregon Data Suite on how we can just pull the first choice, like in Synergy for race and ethnicity, and then look at it that way. We're looking at multiple measures, but so we're still working on it with them, Diane, but there is some data that we can pull just from Dibbles and Savas that have to do with like IEP students and things like that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Arnie?
I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie.
I
This-
do have a
Okay.
question for David real quick.
Oh, you go.
Do you want us, because I know you've been putting a timer on for these guys because they've got 10 minutes and then we have 5 minutes for questions. Would you like us to write our questions down and ask? Because I feel like we're interrupting their 10 minutes of time when we're asking in the middle.
I've been stopping their time.
Okay, would you like us to write our questions down and ask at the end so it's not?
It's really whatever you want.
Okay.
I will adjust to what you guys want to do.
I'm just gonna ignore your questions. It's
Okay.
So if someone has asked a question, I've turned the timer off
Okay,
for that entire
So it
portion
doesn't-
until they're back to their slideshow.
Okay, and before you start, I do want to ask if anyone needs a break before we get to our last three presentations. Hearing none, go.
Well, I'd like to.
Wait, Becky. Oh,
Maybe we could mess with it with the, when
Yeah.
we got you off track.
Okay, so I guess the meeting's over.
look at that.
There you go.
I want to say before I start that, you know, despite the criticism of the slides, we've come a long way in data meetings, you guys, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who have been here a minute, like this looks a lot better than it used to. And so there is a lot of comparison. I was going to suggest, Kim, you could go like, while the sunset is up, you can go to Millicoma's matching slides.
that's what I do.
Okay, but also please don't. All right, so here's our regular attender data. We're actually hanging in right now. Our current at 74% of regular attenders. You're right, Dr. Rogowski, like that's a really high bar to reach. And I think some of the outreach that we've been doing a better job at is like breaking down those numbers. Like, hey, miss 2 days a month, I guess, you know, like, but keep it to that and be here as much as possible.
Karen, your current rate is 55%.
I was gonna say.
Oh,
It's
where-
missing,
oh.
but I have it right here. in
Oh,
front of me.
because I'm green.
You're green.
Oh, that was that. I'm also colorblind down at the bottom, and now I have some.
Oh, wait, no,
criticism.
Karen, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Your last year was 55%.
Yeah.
Current year, so I apologize.
You were
Okay.
right. You were right all along.
Have you stopped my time, David?
I did. I'll add a minute for you.
Thanks. All right, so here's our Dibbles data. So our boys over here on the left, what we've done this year, and I'm proud of Sunset School and the work. This looks like the Amplify implementation district wide has gone a long way to improve our ELA scores across the district, and so I'm excited about the growth that's happening there and our continued work with ORTII and our TOSAs. Having literacy TOSAs this year is really helping us keep that work in the forefront of what we're doing while we, pick up on the math end now. So here's third grade broken down. And like Kevin said, these are the kids who have had it for their whole school career. They've had the same curriculum and been working from the same kind of patterns of teaching, and are looking pretty good, especially with accuracy. Here's our 4th grade students. And I'm not going through, I mean, you've already seen these. And so if you have, you can ask questions when we wrap. And then you'll see these students who haven't had it as long, right? And maybe had more holes in their instruction. And that red there at the bottom shows that pretty clearly in our 6th grade. Okay, so our math scores are pretty abysmal at Sunset, and I'm curious to understand why. I know that implementation year is tough, but I know that we also saw after our first kind of diagnostics at our schools that we made a lot of growth throughout the rest of the year within the testing and SAVIS, and I've been looking at historical data from last year, didn't see a lot of that with Sunset students, and so I'm eager to kind of get in and see kind of where the discomfort is, or is implementation year 2 going to go a little better? We're going to take some of the work that was done at Millicoma last year for the What I Need time and intervene with just fact fluency, the stuff that when we kind of shifted to new math, as a lot of people call it, as Common Core, right? And looking at math, you know, in lots of different forms, and finding, you know, making sense of numbers for kids, which is really important, but not for a kid like me who needs an algorithm, right? And so I think we kind of stepped away from certainly drill and kill, which works for a lot of, like, we still need to know our math facts, and we moved so far away from it in those couple of adoption years that I think that that's really indicative of what we're seeing now, because kids can't just necessarily pull their math facts because we didn't make them practice year after year after year. And so I'm hoping that if we're bringing some of that practice back in, and stuff that families can do with their kids at home, with flashcard practice and stuff like that, like making that a part of what we're doing again, I'm hoping to see some really great growth for math. Here's our 3rd graders, or excuse me, our 3rd graders on the left. This was our beginning of year data. A lot of red.
I mean, part of the new math stuff took parents out of the equation.
It sure did.
Yeah.
They stopped because they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
They couldn't read the question.
Right. Literally like threw it up in the air. I can't help you. And it was hard as a teacher at that time when we were transitioning, hard to teach parents, right? As we were also learning, and the algorithm kids had a hard time conceptualizing that a little bit too as teachers.
That's right.
Yeah. And so
And
it
if
was
a kid hears their parents say, I don't understand it, and they see their parents living a perfectly fine life, they think, why do I need to learn that?
Right, right. And what you said, Dr. Rogowski, about I'm bad at math, I'm already seeing with my twin boys. One of them is doing really, really well and just has great number sense naturally, and the other one now thinks he's like never going to get it in 6th grade, and that's got a long way to go. And you know, life, we use that every day, right? But I will say an exciting thing that is happening with, you know, kind of Dr. Ainsworth's, solid floor porous ceiling, sound familiar? We do have some of our 6th graders from both Millicoma and Sunset busing over to the junior high and taking math with some 7th graders over there. I'm sending 7 from Sunset. I think, Kevin, I think you have 5. And so that's been a kind of fun development, and the students that are going over there and taking the math class are enjoying that and having that opportunity. One of my sons is taking that class, and it's extending their school day by about an hour, and nobody seems to mind. And I think it's really building some opportunities for independence in those kids too, which is fun to see. And I do super like that I have 2 more students at Sunset. No offense, of course, to my Mustang.
That's the Kim thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she started it, so I'm just going to finish it off. Also, I visited that classroom one day to kind of see it in action, and our students were very much participants in class and leaders, and so it was fun to see them taking on that role. Okay. OSAS is back in my life now with this move to 3rd through 6th grade.
And I think like to echo what Kevin said, we had a grade level band PLC on Friday last week. And we were talking about the importance of our attitudes as educators toward that test. And I know as a former third grade teacher, the culture here was like, it doesn't matter, right? And that's kind of what we sold parents, you know, like not purposefully, but it's just like, if we're not talking about it like it matters, how are we going to make them care? And so we're going to start, like Kevin said, by sharing the students' OSAS scores from their last year of testing. And as a parent of a freshman and 2 6th graders, I've never seen their OSAS data. I realized I could go look at it probably, but I haven't done that either. And so I think that we could make very little effort to make a big cultural shift for our families and for our teachers. And I think that we have to do some work there too, to make sure that teachers are finding importance there. Certainly our governor's accountability plan should make this more important to all of us right away. And so we're kind of taking that angle. We're going to provide a script for teachers to help them talk about OSAS and why it's important, and try to get more families to not opt out, because we have a pretty strong opt-out culture here, and kids who would probably be really helping our data who just simply aren't taking the test.
So what do they do when they're not?
I want to really commend you guys for not asking questions throughout. Well done.
When they opt out, what do they do?
What do they do instead of that time? I mean, from my recollection, when I was teaching here, it was like they would join another classroom and we would go to the computer lab, which is now Michelle Barton's office. And, you know, they would join that class or read a book. Yeah.
So free time.
Yeah. Quiet, really quiet free time.
Yeah. Okay, Derek, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I really appreciated that in your presentation you talked about culture. What are you going to do as the sort of new leader of Sunset to make a culture shift for that math piece? Because you know, it looks like you identify this is a problem. We have to fix this. And so how are you going to make it fun, make it engaging, get the teachers and parents on board so that, you know, we can look at that as a really bad situation, or we can look at it as an opportunity. We can make some amazing growth and then get to celebrate that.
Yeah. I think for me, and kind of my whole approach at Sunset this year is just letting teachers know that it's okay for us to have high expectations of our students and of each other. And so, you know, looking at that data and saying like, there's no reason that we should have this much more red than our neighbors in Millicoma, right? And so, and we're talking a lot at Sunset and Millicoma about going and observing each other, you know, just to pick up on something like if they're doing it that much better, then let's go see why. What does their win time look like at Millicoma? You know, like what's the pace of the lesson even? Because when you're learning a new curriculum, you kind of just have to, I mean, you're looking at a teacher's manual and then trying to put that into practice all at once. It's hard. It takes some getting used to, and there's a rhythm to teaching, right? There's a pace that makes sense, but you also have, you know, math abilities that are all across the board. And so we're pushing like exposure to grade level core is really, really important, but also there's a lot of holes to fill. And so it's really easy for you to check out, right? If your math level's down here and you're being taught up here. And so making sure that teachers understand that while exposure is really important, you also have to keep moving for those kids that are at grade level, and then we'll try to fill the holes in our intervention times.
I'm wondering, did the individual teachers get to see their students and this growth their students make?
So that's something too that I think culturally speaking, like we have data to look at now. I've worked in this district for 20 years and we have had to kind of pick apart, like looking at common formative assessments that we're making ourselves, right? And how do we then score those assessments in a collaborative way that makes sense for the, you know, 4 teachers that are doing that together. Right. And so I think now that we have data that we can look at, we can take like deeper dives and say, okay, we really need to hone in on this skill. And maybe again, like with that fact fluency practice, I mean, that covers a whole bunch, right there. And we've, with our ELA model and looking at the things that we've done over the last 3-4 years with reading instruction, like we have kind of the blueprint now that we can follow in terms of data cycles and core reviews and making sure that as grade levels, we're hitting those, like the big things that the whole class is missing, and that we're hitting that in the core, just like with little bits of extra instruction here and there.
It seems like it could be really beneficial feedback to the individual teachers as well. Like, yes, my students started here, but look at all this growth that my students made. Like, be a real source of pride.
Yeah, and Dr. Ainsworth talked a lot last year about ownership of results, right? And so I think that our district is really shifting toward that. And so we need to keep that at the forefront of teachers. It's not all about data, like you were saying, Dee, but it sure is important, especially right now. And if we are not taking what we know about students and their knowledge and doing something about it in a really targeted way, then we're being irresponsible.
Kim, did you have any questions?
How are you feeling?
Good, truly. I'm having a good time.
You love the move?
Yeah.
Excited, embracing the challenge.
It's so fun. I mean, they're so tall and they can, you know, go to the bathroom on their own, and you can reason, right? Yes. Like they're funny. And oh, so weird.
Oh yes, such a fun age.
Yeah.
Man, I was trying not to compare there's just huge gaps. Melanoma and sunset.
And there doesn't have to be, and we know that.
And it just makes my heart sad.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to, seeing how we're gonna improve this for these students and families over on our west side.
I think it's going to be collaboration and looking at what works and spreading the joy.
And I like that you are, saying, hey, you come from that east side school where you were doing things, and just going and viewing what other teachers are doing and saying how is this working for you, why is this so successful. I think that's imperative to really looking at raising the scores for these kiddos.
Well, and I think it's really important. I think Kyle may have addressed this, of getting students involved in that too, and making sure students understand that they're capable and can. I've been doing a lot. I've been sharing data with a lot of students who are spending a lot of time outside of classrooms and saying like, hey, my job here is to make sure that you guys are learning, but look at this. And then I'll explain, what that red means. And the students are shocked, and they're like, why is it so bad? I'm like, well, I could be partially because you're never in class. Okay. We could start there. But like letting them know that this is important, and also letting them know that we think that they're capable, right? And the good news is there's just like so much growth that can happen at Sunset that we can hopefully make some waves like right away.
Arnie?
I'll give my time to Diane.
To Diane. Diane, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Navy.
I just want to say thank you so much, and I just want to make sure to say, not trying to be critical at all of the data slides. And I, being new, I don't really know what you had in the past, but I believe it probably wasn't what this is now. I just do think, as you just said, that it is such a great tool for all the constituents if we can frame those messages. And that's where I see a real opportunity to maybe engage parents more too, because I think they think their children can do it too.
Yeah.
I
sure hope so.
Yeah. So, and especially, I'm glad somebody brought up the whole new math thing. I had kind of photoshopped that out of my world.
You're welcome.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Well, and on top of that, I mean, we being a parent during COVID, and hearing from other parents could work with their children, at least reading to them and having their children, read back. I mean, that kind of dynamic was still there, but there were several parents like, I cannot do the math that you're sending home for my child. I can read to them. I can't do the math.
Yeah.
And so I think that gap just opened up even more during that.
And if we done what she said, and that is say, just give them some flashcards and say, do this with your kids.
Yeah.
Forget all this stuff. Just do this with your kids. They'd be in a lot better shape.
Yes, right. Well, it's a balance of all these things gently and with this growth mindset for like everybody. We need to use the data. You know, it's what we have to tell folks up there in Salem and stuff. And so, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Subbing in for Mrs. Ed tonight is Nicole Alt and McKenna Broder. Mrs. Ed is at soccer at senior night for her daughter. So
Yeah. You get the clicker.
I will like to say though, really quickly, when we do this next time, reverse the order.
Yeah, we will. We only did this order tonight because of soccer. We were trying to cater to Mr. Ashton.
Okay.
I like the order, but I like how
So in case you don't know, I'm Nicole Alt. I'm the intervention specialist at Eastside. And
I'm McKenna Broder. I'm the literacy TOSA over at Eastside Animal Co. But I'm here for Eastside.
okay. So there's our regular attenders slide, and there with our data from last year and our goal and our current, and we're like right on track. Some of the things that we're doing to encourage attendance is we're making sure that classrooms get some recognition when they get 100% of their kids there. Kids really think that's fun. We put up a big sign, and when anybody's moving through the school, they stop and say, "Good job, everybody's here today." And then we have a prize card that comes around if everybody comes on Fridays, because we found that those half days are the days that we miss the most school. And that's a lot of the times when I hear from kids, because I do all my assessing on Fridays. And so then on Monday and Tuesday, when I'm making up the kids, I'm like, "Oh, where were you on Friday? We missed you." And they're like, "Oh, my mom said I could have a day off." And so if it's really like a choice, then giving them a prize on Friday when everybody's there for 100% hopefully gets those kids who are making a choice to not come on Friday, and maybe eliminate some of that practice before they get any older. So those are some things that we're trying to do.
And do parents know that their kids are getting those awards if the classes are empty and everything?
Yeah. I had a kindergarten there last year, and he would, "I can't miss school today."
Okay.
He's like, "I'm gonna get my prize."
Okay.
And then we get the little notes from Ms. Brock about how well he did. Well, he struggled. I mean, you know him.
Last year's attendance rate for Eastside was 69%.
Okay.
And then these are scores for Dibble's whole school. And again, we know it's not looking the greatest. We know we have a heavy lift. But some of our big things that we are going to be pushing is kind of focusing on that tier 1, that core the core classes that students are in, figuring out what is not working and targeting those students, trying to get as many reps as possible. And then obviously with our intervention supports as well, putting them in the right spots, making sure they have the right amount of time to try to get the big lift that we need to in order to have readers in our schools.
So this is our kindergarten data, which it's always fun to see where kindergartners start before they have any instruction. So on the left is their composite score, which is kind of an average of all the other assessments that they're given. And then that next column, it's hard to read with all the stuff underneath there, but that's first sound fluency. And we actually don't give that test to very many students. It kind of comes up for kids who cannot do the phoneme segmentation fluency, which is actually a really important piece of learning to read. So if you can hear the sounds in a word, then you can build the word, you can take it apart, and you are ready to learn the letters that go with those sounds, and you're ready to read. So that phoneme segmentation fluency way over there on the right is what I look at when kindergartners are coming in to see if they're ready to learn their letter sounds and ready to learn to read. So I'm not discouraged by the way that looks. I'm pretty excited about it. And then the one that I kind of skipped over there, that letter naming fluency, That's, it kind of tells us if kids have been introduced to their alphabet at all. We don't expect them to know all their letters or be able to do it quickly at the beginning of the year. And really that assessment shows us more about their rapid recall, their memory, than it does anything else. So we keep monitoring that through first grade just to see if they have that rapid recall and can access things that they've learned quickly. So with our first grade, so this is what happens to our kiddos after they have been with our kindergarten teachers for a year. They look really nice. We've got a pretty amazing kindergarten team. So we've got lots of kids that are at benchmark at the beginning of the year, which is a hard thing to do. First grade has a lot of really high skills that they have to learn. Actually, first grade has the most phonetic learning of any grade level at all. And so they have to just hit the ground running and go fast. So the fact that we have so many kids that have started the year with some, in a solid place is a really good thing. That segmentation is over there and it's still really strong. And then we have like nonsense words that we have them read. And so it looks at how many correct letter sounds did they decode within those words, and then so that way making sure that we have the right letters and the right sounds matched to each other. And then also, can you blend those three sounds together and make a nonsense word? And if you can blend it, then you have your phonics skills really enhanced. So those are the things that I look at the most as we're learning to read. And so we've got some skills there. Our nonsense word fluency, we've got like 67% of our first graders that came in at or above. So we'll just keep pushing for those kiddos as they gain a lot of skills. I haven't had a year yet where the middle of the year didn't look worse than the beginning at first grade because there's such a steep hill to climb. So I'm excited to see it start out in this place, but I know that we've still got a lot of work to do. So I'll be anxious to see how we end up there. So
then second grade, again, a heavy lift for us to do. We're still building upon the previous years, and just like Nicole said, that we have some of the biggest phonetic skills that we have to do in that first and second grade space. And so we're continuing to improve on that, and our teachers are continually improving the way that they're teaching and the way that they're making sure the students are doing. They're sounding out, they're blending, all of those kind of things. With our data, we noticed that we have a lot more gaps to fill. So we're taking some of our resources in other, that would be technically for other times, into the second grade time slot, so that our second graders are still getting extra, or we have really small groups in second grade, as well as getting those extra times to get those bigger lifts that we clearly have, so that way we have students that are ready to go on and ready to move on in an efficient way.
And then this is our SAVIS data. So showing our beginning of the year where we started and our goal, where we'd like to end up at the end of the year as far as school-wide goes. We are continuing to work on those sprint goals of making sure that we spend an hour a week in SuccessMaker. We saw that really helped level the playing field and give everybody gains. And one thing that we learned last year is we had some teams that really started tracking not just minutes, but percentage of correct problems, instead of just like spending this much time. Let's see what's your percentage of correct answers that you're getting in that time, or how many correct problems can you generate within that hour. So we have a goal right now of an hour a week in SuccessMaker and 50 correct problems. And so we have just putting that data in front of kids and showing them that we want to try to get to 50. That's our goal, and talking to them about it, then they are kind of clued in, because when they log out in a session, it shows them how many questions they got right and how many. So they know that they want to try to get to 50 every week. It's motivating for them too. So they're less likely to just click to be done and more likely to really think and try their best. So,
and again, as a reminder, first grade here is where we adopted Savas. So they were in kindergarten when we adopted Savas. Our second graders are ones that had a different math curriculum and then had Savas last year and are continuing that. But that's something that we also acknowledge and see throughout our data. So,
yeah, where those gaps show up. Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
Maybe.
Maybe don't. Thank you.
Marty?
I have none, but I'll give my time to Diane.
I'll call on her. Kim?
So much for presenting this. Great job.
Derek?
I was wondering if we have data where we can compare students who were enrolled in our preschool program and their kindergarten beginning of year scores to students who were not enrolled in our kindergarten.
That's exactly the
Stay
question.
tuned. We've got more slides.
And then this a little off topic, but if you have any clues for reading nonsense words, I really appreciate them. I read a lot of drug names. That you have any strategies? I could use coaching on that.
Chunk around the vowel sound.
I was going to say
Small chunks. Yeah.
Find the vowels.
Okay, but what if there's like 20 consonants?
Russian. I'm taking a bunch of those drugs now.
Yeah, a lifelong skill that you'll need.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you guys very much.
Diane, did you have any questions?
Nope, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last,
And last but not least,
Mrs. Ainsworth, who's going to talk about Madison and Old Pirates.
Hello, everyone. This is my favorite thing to do in public to adults. So if you guys, are feeling tired and would just like to call it a night, that would be all right as well. No, I'm super excited to be here to talk with you about Madison and Little Pirates. My slide looks a little different because Gary sent out the slides and said we could to put something in, and I had already entered in a data slide, so I apologize. But so our goal this year at Madison is that 90% of our students will attend school at least 90% of the time. And one of the things that in the messaging that we've been putting out to families is really that 17 days. And families are going to see that and hear about that at their fall conferences in a few weeks in November. They're going to get a calendar, and they're also going to get a letter with a graph that kind of shows their child's attendance as it compares to other students in the school, and also as it kind of compares to them being a regular attender. Some strategies, we're trying to really just create a positive, welcoming culture, greeting students at the door, positive notes home, and then just continual education with families about the importance of regular attendance. It's really easy when your kiddo says oh, I don't want to go to school today. And we just really try to reassure parents that is really normal. I wake up sometimes in the morning and I think, I don't really feel like getting out of bed and going to work today, but I do. So I did break it apart by grade level, but we're sitting at about 72% regular attenders at Madison, well below our goal. Last year we were at 67%, and that was up 7% from the previous year.
I appreciate the individualization.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, on to Dibbles. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. This is our whole school, lots of red and yellow, but as we're looking at our data at Madison, we're really breaking it down by grade level, and so I'm going to skip ahead. Very excited this year. Yes, lots of red, as to be expected for kindergarten, but our red and yellow combined in the composite score is actually just what our red was last year. So we have noticed a trend in kiddos coming into kindergarten ready to learn, and with some really solid phonemic awareness skills, which is great, coming in with some phonemic awareness skills. So over here at the beginning of the year, we had a nice amount of our kids in the blue and green with their phonemic awareness, which is going to make learning other skills so much easier. Okay. First grade. Woo! First grade actually at Madison has the most room for improvement. And so we have been focused on targeting phonemic awareness and automaticity with letter sounds to apply that to their decoding. And so we had core review meetings at the end of September, and each grade level identified 1 to 2 priority skills, as did Eastside, Millicoma, and Sunset. This is standard practice. But we identified a target skill that we were going to make sure that we intensified for students. So whether that was an additional dose in the core or an additional dose of that skill sometime throughout their day. So we have been focused in both kindergarten and first grade on phonemic awareness and letter sound fluency with automaticity. I do want to give a big shout out to our first grade team. You will see in our second grade data, this is the best second grade data that Madison has ever had. And it's really exciting because our first grade data last year, oops, I did not mean to do that backwards. Our first grade data last year was like 2 percentage points off of what it is this year. And we are looking at the best data we've ever had in second grade. Extremely proud of our first grade team last year and all of the focus and attention that they put into explicit instruction. And also want to note that we ended the year with first grade data last year pretty much exactly the same as Eastside. And so I know that we can do it, but our goal is also to have our kindergarten data look really good at the end of this year so that this 50% gets to 60%, 70%, 80% really quickly. And then Sunset will also see the benefits of that as well. Okay, so for math, this is going to be a learning experience for me this year because I wasn't in the building last year as much, and so I wasn't in the Savvis data as much, so I have some learning to do here. But again, the trend is the same, lots of red and yellow. We are doing math intervention, also using the adaptive software in SuccessMaker, 60 minutes per week as well. And so that end of the school year goal is to be at 70% at or above benchmark. So this is just broken down by grade level, lots of red and yellow. Questions? I feel like I went really fast.
Arden.
So do kids like doing SuccessMaker?
Oh, really loaded.
I mean, how do we get them? That's the thing that's always bothered me. I was always a math person.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand why people all hated it. But the more we can do to make them not hate it, it makes it easier for them to like it later. So I would hope we weren't doing things that force them to dislike math real early. So could it be more fun? I mean, math can be really fun.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, that's a very loaded question. Adaptive software definitely has its purpose. Teachers are trying to get really creative. Our kindergarten team, I think Eastside did this last year. They have bracelets, and when they meet their goal, they get a charm. And so there's some like incentives that we're trying to incentivize getting on SuccessMaker. I think it varies. Some kids very much like it. They want to get on SuccessMaker, and there's a group of kiddos who don't. And so we're looking at minutes and trying to motivate kids, but it's also about questions correct and what are they doing when they're on the software. And so we have to, look at the impact that it's having on outcomes for students as well. And I know Millicoma had some really had a lot of success last year in using it a couple of days a week as their intervention, and then 2 days a week with like a small group intervention. And so as we get to learn more about our curriculum and the software, I think we'll adapt and have to make some in-game adjustments on what the best way to utilize it is. Other questions?
Maybe.
None, thank you.
Kim?
Thank you, though.
Yeah. Derek?
Set a very lofty attendance goal.
Yeah.
I think the highest one.
Yeah. I love it. Unapologetically. Yes. Yes, I love it. I have high expectations. And we, there's a good chance we won't meet it, but if that's the goal, that's the goal. Regardless of where we were at last year, I think it's really important. And we've sent that out to families, like this is our goal and this is where we're trying to be. And there are a lot of reasons why kiddos aren't regular attenders. But that is our goal.
What do you think are the things that the district could do better, or resources that could be brought to bear to help you make that goal that you don't already have? It sounds like you're reaching out to parents, you're informing the kids, you're setting a high goal, you're trying to get the community rallied around it. Is there a missing piece that you need help with to get to that goal?
You know, last year we had attendance advocates, right? And here's what I will say about attendance advocates. It's really easy for people to say, oh, that's the attendance advocate's job. It is not the attendance advocate's job to make sure that kids are coming to school. It is the school's job. It is the teacher's job. It is my job. It is Madison School's job to understand why families are having a hard time. And so while we don't have attendance advocates, I think it also helps us own the results and not say like, oh, this child isn't attending school. Bree, you take care of it. That's a really easy way to pass off a problem to solve instead of owning it and understanding why a family or a child is having a difficult time regularly attending school. Attendance is it's a really hard problem to solve. And so I don't have like a magic answer. I think more than anything, like family engagement is more than families coming to us. And I've said this before, probably last year. It's us going to families. It's us showing up for them when they call and say, hey, my kiddo missed the bus. I don't have a vehicle to bring them. Okay, great. We'll get someone out there. It might take an hour, but someone will be there to pick up your student. And so that's how you build trust. With families is showing up for them, and it's not going to show up magically in our data, but those are the moments and those are the things that we're also really focused on, is building those relationships with families and showing up for them and not always expecting them to come to us.
Is there maybe there's privacy concerns with doing this, but is there a role for a parent volunteer as an attendance champion?
I mean, possibly, yeah. I think that'd be great.
Just, sometimes there are volunteers in our community who want to help with a specific problem, or, they're a social person and just, that, they have a few hours in the morning, they might want
and
to
they'll sit and make phone calls.
And but just, and I'm not saying we should take away, I'm not saying we should put paid district work onto a volunteer or anything like that. I'm just trying to think outside the box about how do we solve a big multifactorial problem. And generally, when you're trying to solve a big multifactorial problem, you have to look at what causes 70 or 80% of the problems and go after that, and then go after the next biggest thing. And it sounds like you've gone after a lot of the big ones, and maybe there's room for volunteers or other people to help us build that community support to achieve the goal.
Absolutely. We'll take champions of any kind. For sure. Okay.
Diane?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Little Pirates. All right, regular attender goal. Right now we're sitting just above 60. I think we're at 62%. This isn't too surprising. Little tiny humans come to school and they get sick. And we haven't been in school for very many days. And so like Mr. Guthrie said, you can miss like 4 days of school right now and you're not a regular attender. And so little people's immune systems get built up. We also have to work with parents and educate them that like just a little runny nose, you can still come to school, trying to work with families on that. So our 24-25 data, we were, I think 77% regular attenders, which was pretty good. So same for Little Pirates, setting that goal at 90%. I think building strong attendance habits for our 3 and 4-year-olds is truly the key to success. As a kindergarten teacher, I would, because I taught long enough, I would see the students who had who were not regular attenders in kindergarten and then watch them throughout their educational career, and their attendance habits did not get magically better. And so the more that we can really work to build those positive relationships with families, establish trust, and also just get them to understand the importance of their child being at school, kind of sets the tone for their school career. Okay, our program goals, I just added in a couple slide because we don't have like DIBELS data to show you. And so I have some data to show you, and I'm going to show you our kinders that were at Little Pirates last year, a few different measures on how they're doing. But our main program goals are social emotional learning. Like, we want students to show up to kindergarten ready to learn. We want them to be able to identify their emotions. We want them to have coping skills. We want them to be able to communicate and solve problems, as well as we're really working to build language skills. So building that language to be able to communicate. So those are our two big focuses. There's a lot of other things. They're doing phonemic awareness. They're working on fine motor skills, gross motor, all the things. But those are kind of the big focus areas for our program. Our program is different because it's not a pre-kindergarten program. This is a preschool program, 3 and 4-year-olds in one classroom. So you have the little person who turned 3 on September 1st and the little person who turned 5 on September 2nd in one classroom. And that provides a lot of opportunities for modeling for that older student with the younger student and all the things. Currently, we have 72 Little Pirates, 54 preschool promise slots, 18 tuition-based district slots. 22% of our students are receiving early childhood special education support through the ESD, either on site with speech or consultation with ESD partnership. And a couple of our students, the model has changed a little bit this year, so a couple of our students do still go to the ESD, but the majority of our students are receiving services within the community preschool setting. We currently have 50 students on our wait list, 35 preschool promise, and 15 tuition-based students are on the wait list. All right, so last year at the end of the year, this is kind of where we were with social emotional learning. So we had a high number of our students at or above benchmark, along with language skills, physical development, and cognitive. So in those 4 domains, this is where we ended the school year. And then I didn't do DIBELS. I will absolutely pull that, but DIBELS, when I got in there to pull the data, it just had Madison in the Little Pirates group. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to add all the East Side kids into it, so I can get that for you and email it to you. But I did pull attendance data. I wanted to give you like school readiness data, and then also some information on letter sounds. So attendance, 80% of our Little Pirates at Madison are regular attenders. And then just a little less than that, around 70% at East Side are regular attenders. So far this school year, none of our Little Pirates have received any type of referrals this year. So that's amazing. To me, that means like, hey, doesn't mean that there aren't like challenges or we're working on, building some skills, but at-risk behavior, we're just not seeing with our Little Pirates. And then Unit 3 letter sounds. So this is the Amplify first set of letter sounds that have been introduced at Madison and East Side. We have at Madison, I think it was 77% have mastery of those 8 letter sounds that have been taught. So it's been taught and they have learned it. And then just a little bit of red and yellow, and then East Side, same green, yellow, red for the kiddos. I will say I'm not sure when East Side updated their letter sound data last, and so this could be, yeah. So this could be like a week old data, but I can get the new data from ESGI and fix the slide and send it to you. Overall, I hope this just displays that our Little Pirates, as they transition into kindergarten, are doing very well. And we're seeing them really first and foremost ready to learn. And then, some nice attendance habits. We spent a lot of time last year in like our monthly newsletters communicating with families about the importance of attendance. And so hopefully just those little doses of information will stick with families as well. And then I'm certain that Eastside's Lettersound data will look a little different after Mrs. Alt's updating. So I'll fix that slide and send it to you guys so you have accurate data as well. And I think that's it. So questions?
Maybe.
Oh, thank you. This is great. Thank you for the extra information. It's really appreciated. And I know that if you have, even more goals than social, emotional, and language,
For sure.
that those are all happening. And, there's a part of me that's really not interested in the DIBELS data but I am, because of the, the no referrals bars, green bars there. That's a really, really big deal. And I think we're going to continue to see a lot of things do that. So thank you for the extra information. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, obviously they learn some social emotional skills and they know how to behave. So that was really, that's awesome. So,
As is developmentally appropriate.
exactly.
Kim?
I was just wondering, what curriculum are they using? Is it a creative curriculum? And then do they use TS Gold for their data?
Yeah.
Are you able to pull any of the reports from TS Gold? To
Yep.
Look at some of that, that information. So
Yeah, I can pull that. You can just email me and let me know what you're interested in, for sure.
thank you.
Derek?
Maybe not a helpful question, but how do we get the 50 kids off the wait list?
You must be reading my things over here because you're asking exactly the questions I thought.
But I mean, seriously, one of the things that is important and has been talked about in all of our schools is disruptive behaviors. And so if we can put 50 more kids into a program that is really reducing kids' disruptive behavior now or soon, in 10 years, our district can be in a lot better place.
Yeah, one of the ways one of the things that I would say to the staff last year was like, we are the intervention, right? When things get hard, because it is hard. Everyone thinks like, oh, that must be so fun. And it is really fun and it is a joyful place to be, but it is also really hard work. And so I think really framing it as like, this is actually the first intervention that our district can provide, right? We can get kids off to the most amazing start where they learn about how to be in a classroom, they learn how to communicate with others, all the things that go into preschool. And while we're not a highly academic focused and like, doing worksheets and things, kids are writing their names, they're doing phonemic awareness activities, they're rhyming, they're prepared to walk into a kindergarten classroom and be successful. And so that's really, really exciting. And so when we frame it in thinking about like, this is our first intervention for our district, I mean, money is the thing that we don't necessarily have, unfortunately. There's cuts going on right now, and there were some preschool promise slots available in our region, but those were absorbed to help make the cuts that were necessary for the budget.
Slots were cut. We don't.
There were 15 slots in our region. So we will continue to apply for slots, and our partners at the Early Learning Hub know that we are ready and willing and able to take on more slots should they come available. And also like explore possibly other funding options outside of just Preschool Promise. But that's just kind of where we started and is where we're at. But
Diane?
I'm good. Thank you for all the information and explaining things in such depth. I really appreciate it, but I don't have any questions.
have one more quick thing. Who are we competing against or with for the preschool promise slots, and what does the data look like? Who else has? Does North Bend have they have a preschool, and how many preschool promise slots do they have? And
They have 36, so they have 2 classrooms.
But they have a waiting list.
oh, sure.
I mean, I know it takes money, but do we have room? Do we
Yes.
have,
That's good.
you know, we'd have to hire teachers, we'd
Yeah,
have to do.
We have a classroom. We were prepared because there was a potential that we may have opened up a 5th classroom this fall. So we, Kayla worked really hard to make sure that there was a space available and ready. And so there is a space that if we were able to add another classroom, one of the tricky parts of it will be like playground and outside space. And so as we're thinking long-term with preschool, I think that's something that you all as the board are going to have to really think through what your goals are for early learning within our district. We've been sitting at 4 classrooms for several years now, and that's really, really exciting. But if the goal is to get to 5 or 6 classrooms and shrink that wait list a little bit, it's going to require looking at resources and funding, and then having a plan for the actual site.
Well, we gave our superintendent a goal, so it's goal number 2 or 3.
Yep. Expanding.
Yep. So
Okay,
it's
does anybody have any last questions of anybody that's been here tonight that's still in the room?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carly. I just
Thank you
want to,
very much.
I just want to thank all the building administrators. I also want to thank Chad Putman, who's been in the back all evening. Chad, thank you for being here. And then we had 2 folks that were here tonight from the Student Success Committee. Whitney Moore, who is seated next to Kara, she had to leave, I'm sure, to pick up kiddos around 8. And then Kate Hess, who's right kind of back there. Kate is an employee over at Sunset. He is an EA for us, does a fantastic job. He also subs quite a bit in the classroom for us.
Do not ask for his job description.
And yeah, it's a bunch. He does he's a jack of all trades that does a bunch for us. And then Whitney works for DHS here in our community. She has 3 kids in the district, 1 at the junior high, 1 middle Como, and 1 at Eastside. And so they were here tonight. I just want to recognize them for spending 2.5 hours
Sitting and listening
school
to
data. So thank you, Kate and Whitney. I know you left, but you're thank you also. Send her a text. Thank you.
Yeah, thank all of you for being here. That was very informative. I think we came out of it with a lot of information. And I think we'll work on over the next 6 months till we get our next report, how to present it.
Yeah, I would love to, because
streamlined in a more family friendly.
I mean, we've kind of followed the blueprint that we've used the
Yeah,
past 4 or 5 years of data presentations, but we're always interested in what the board and the community would like to see in terms of making.
It also though changes, like SAB has changed how you look at it now.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
1 year later, and it's a whole new.
So
I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. I appreciate
So-
all the work. And Gary, thank you for putting those slides together.
Yeah.
For all the staff for providing that data and the presentations.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
And
is there
don't
any
forget
other
to thank-
business?
Don't forget to thank David for all that.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Evan, you're always amazing.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, meeting is adjourned at 8:07.
Everybody go home.